For normal people, October is spooky season, but for weirdos like me, spooky season is all year long. Alright, so I'm in here for another monthly wrap-up, and I've dressed up for the occasion, just to add a touch of class to my videos for a change. So in this video I'm going to be going over what I read in September, and what I'm going to read in October. So I do plan on reading a lot of horror books in October, even though I kind of read horror all year long. I just feel like October is a good time to knock out a whole bunch at once. So I've got a number of horror books on my list for the month. Let's start with what I read last month. And for September, I had a very good month. I had a good number of 5-star reads. I read something like 8 books. So that was very productive. Yeah, I really enjoyed a lot of what I read during the month. Starting off with some rereads, I reread The Hobbit for the 3rd time, technically. I read it 2 times in school for 2 different classes. And to be honest, I don't remember a whole lot of the book from those classes. I basically remember the beginning of the book and going on the journey. Then I remember the giants or whatever, and then the cave with the golem and the riddles, and that's really about it. There's a whole lot of the books that I don't remember, so it was interesting to go back now and reread the entire thing. So it was a really good book. I wouldn't say it's one of my favorites, but it's very well written. Had some nice character growth. Obviously, the world is very painstakingly developed. So yeah, that was The Hobbit. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars or whatever. I'm going to be reading the trilogy of Lord of the Rings in the coming months. This will be the first time for that one, or for those ones. The other reread I had last month was To Kill a Mockingbird. This was another book that I read in junior high, and I quite liked it. I liked it even more this time around. Obviously, I think most people know what this book is about. If you haven't read it, you've probably been aware of it, or even saw the movie. So it's very well written, has some great characters, some very iconic characters, some great quotes, and some great wisdom. So I don't need to say a whole lot about this book. It's pretty popular. Yeah, I gave this one 5 stars this time. Really enjoyed it. The first one that I finished of the month was actually carryover from August. That was Mark Twain's The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn. This one I didn't like as much. I read Tom Sawyer earlier in the year, and I liked it, kind of. I liked the writing style, and I liked Tom Huck as the main character, and most of the side characters as well. But the story was kind of lacking, and kind of I wouldn't say slow paced, but kind of low stakes for most of the book until the end, when it gets to the rousing finale of sorts. But anyways, it was okay. I wasn't ready to jump into Huck Finn for a while, but I finally managed to do that starting at the end of August and finishing it up at the beginning of last month. I didn't like it quite as much. The writing style was kind of different, I thought. It was really thick and really, I don't want to say dense, because it wasn't, it wasn't dense like in an old Victorian sense or anything like that, but it was very, very long-winded. I didn't much care for the characters quite as much. They felt more like caricatures to me. Huck Finn was okay. I liked him better in Tom Sawyer, I think. Just kind of a long, rambling story. I always heard that it was, Huck Finn going down the Mississippi River. So I was hoping there'd be more of, just adventures rafting down the river. I don't know what I was expecting, but The book that I read was not really what I envisioned it would be. Lots of little side quests and side adventures or something. I don't know. Go to a lot of little places and meet a lot of weird people, and then they move on to another place and meet some more weird people. It's very fast paced, I thought. Yeah, I didn't get a whole lot out of it. I think the last half of the book really dragged for me. Yeah, overall I just thought it was a very average book. So, I don't know, maybe it was just me. I did want to get to another Mark Twain book sometime. That would be, what is it called? Connecticut Yankee in King Arthur's Court, I think is what it's called. But I don't know if I'm gonna read that or not. Something about his writing style just kind of seemed exhausting to me. So I might put that on the back burner and maybe revisit that sometime later in the future. Anyways, that's enough about that. The next one I read was another sort of coming-of-age book by a classic American author. This one was Dandelion Wine by Ray Bradbury. I did a video review of this a few weeks ago. But just to summarize, it's a short little book about a young boy growing up in 1928 in Greentown, Illinois. So it's just a series of events and happenings over this course of this one summer. It really just deals a lot with growing up and life and growing up in a small town and things like that. And so it is a Ray Bradbury book, so the prose was obviously very well done. The best part of the book, in my opinion. But I did enjoy this one as well. I gave this one 5 stars. I gave Huck fan 3 stars, I think. I don't really care. It doesn't matter. Anyways, Dandelion Wine, I really enjoyed it. It was very short. A very quick read as well. I am looking forward to reading more from Mr. Bradbury, so stay tuned for more of that later in the video. Alright, anyways. The next thing I read was a graphic novel. So it was Batman. The one I read this month was Batman the Black Mirror. I'm not going to go into the plot a whole lot because it's kind of hard to explain without going into the whole story. But it was really good. I think parts of it were not as strong as the other parts. But overall, I thought it was a very good story of Batman. One that I'd heard a lot about, and one that is very highly regarded. So I'm glad to have read that. I gave that one 5 stars as well. I did really enjoy reading Batman the Black Mirror. And then next up was the first non-Dark Tower related fiction book from Stephen King I've read in like 3 years. And that is Dolores Claiborne. I also did a video about that here on my video channel on the YouTube. Suffice it to say, I loved it. It's another 5-star read for me. This one is a kind of a drama thriller set in the perspective of the main character, who is Dolores Claiborne, as she talks about the events that led to her husband's death years prior, and also the events that led to the death of her boss, which has led her to be interrogated by police. So that was a really good read. A rather short book by Stephen King terms. It was around 300 pages, but it was a very, very quick read. I read it in 3 days, I think. Really good book, really strong characters, a really gripping narrative. I think it's about the right length for a Stephen King novel. A lot of times they'll have these really long ones, but they don't need to be as long as they are. in my opinion. I think this one strikes that line perfectly. So that one was a 5-star for me and a contender for Book of the Year. So if you haven't read Dolores Claiborne yet, go ahead and check that out. I highly recommend it. Next up, I finished the Screwtape Letters by C.S. Lewis. I actually started this in August, I believe. Just been reading a couple chapters at a time when I get time, when I get the chance. So that was also a really good book. It's about it's like a demon supervisor guy writing letters to his nephew about how to perform his job better. So it's really well done. If you have any experience with religion or Christianity, I think you'll be able to experience this book a whole lot better than if you have no experience with it. I think you'll find a lot of it's very personally convicting. I really enjoyed it, but I have to say that C.S. Lewis's writing style is not my favorite. The first book I read from him was Mere Christianity a couple years ago. I don't remember much about it, but I just remember it being very hard to parse through. And this also applies to the Screwtape Letters, I think. Sometimes he will make things more difficult than they need to be when saying something, kind of like I'm doing right now. So yeah, his writing style is not my favorite, but I do want to try some more books from him in the future. And I ended up giving this one, I think, 4 stars out of 5. That leads me to the last book that I finished last month, which was Slaughterhouse-Five by Kurt Vonnegut. This was my first book from Vonnegut, one that I've heard a lot about, but not really a whole lot about what was in it. So this is a postmodern structured book. It's kind of anti-war. It's kind of satirical, a lot of dark humor in it. So this one was okay. I didn't really get into it until around halfway through the book. I'm not sure if that was due to me just finally getting acclimated to his writing style, or if the book actually got better as it went along. It's hard to say. It was okay. I don't think it was anything that good, anything that great. I don't know, kind of a ho-hum story. A really different structure in terms of writing. It kind of goes back and forth between different points in his life seamlessly and without any kind of lead-in or anything, any kind of transition. So that was kind of weird, but it was okay. I think I gave it 3.5 out of 5 or something like that. I may want to read another book from him in the future, maybe. I haven't decided yet. Yeah, but that was Slaughterhouse-Five. And that was all the books that I finished last month. There was 2 that I started that I'm still reading currently. The first one is Bag of Bones by Stephen King. This one is about a writer who loses his wife to a car accident in the beginning of the book. And then the rest of the book is him kind of grieving that loss and getting into some other events and situations as he escapes back to his vacation home, I think it is, in a secluded area. So I'm a little over halfway through that right now. It's been taking me a while to get through it. It's not that I don't like the book. It's okay. It's just not something that makes you want to read more or something. It's not a gripping novel, I don't think. I've been having trouble reading more than like 20 pages at a time. So it's taking me a while to get through it. But I should be able to finish that in the next couple of days. So I can start on my reads for the month of October. Is there anything else I want to say about Bag of Bones? No, not yet. Not really. I'll wait till I finish it and record some thoughts next month, probably. The other one that I am reading right now is Oliver Twist by Charles Dickens. This is my second Dickens novel, although the first one that I don't really know what to expect. The first one was A Christmas Carol, and I think we all know that story by heart, so that wasn't anything new when I read that earlier this year. It was an okay little book. It was very short. It was about what you'd expect the book to be. Oliver Twist is something that I haven't seen the movie for. I did see Oliver and Company, the Disney animated movie, but I don't remember a whole lot about it anymore. I do want to watch it again. I think it's on Disney Plus. So I don't really know a whole lot about the story of Oliver Twist, other than, he's an orphan kid in England, and he wanted more food in that one scene. But I'm about 100 pages in. It's alright. It's a pretty easy read, I think. Not sure how much I'm going to like it at the end. We'll wait and see. I'm kind of putting that back on the back burner though, because I do own that one, and my other ones I have planned, I have all rented from the library, so I want to get to those first, so I can return those and let someone else read them as well. But that is all that I'm reading right now. So let's go into what I plan to read for October. So spooky season will commence, hopefully within the next couple of days, with The Haunting of Hill House by Shirley Jackson. This is one of the greatest horror novels ever written. There was a Netflix adaptation a couple years ago that was very well received. I did watch it. I did like it well enough. I did have some issues with it, but overall I think it's a very different story than the book is. So I'm very much looking forward to reading that. For a read-along that I'm currently behind on, but anyways, be starting that soon, hopefully. Then after that, I'll be reading my next Ray Bradbury book, which is Something Wicked This Way Comes. This is a horror novel from him. It's also set in Greentown, Illinois, same as Dandelion Wine. It'll be the second book in his Greentown series. It's also considered one of the better horror novels, so I'm looking forward to that. I don't know a whole lot about it, other than it's about a carnival that comes to town, and there are some kids involved with the carnival or something. I don't know, we'll see. The next one after that will be another Stephen King book, Pet Sematary. This is the one that I have been wanting to read for a while. It's often considered one of his scariest books. So it's about a pet cemetery that's, brings pets back to life. And obviously not in a good way, as you would expect. I did see the movie from the 80s when I was a kid, and I really liked it. I think it's one of the creepier movie adaptations of his books that we've gotten. And so I want to read the book, and I will be doing that later this month, finally. And then the last spooky season book I have on my list for this month, or maybe next month if I don't get around to it in time, will be Ghost Story by Peter Straub. This is the one I had never heard of until a few months ago, but it's often regarded as one of the better haunted house novels that we've had. And Peter Straub just recently passed away last month, so I decided I'd give this one a chance this year for October. I'm currently waiting for a hold from the library to come in so I can pick that up and read it. So that will actually be one of my books later in the month. And then on to a couple non-horror related reads. I will be reading the first book in the Lord of the Rings trilogy, The Fellowship of the Ring, at some point this month. Looking forward to that. I've never read the trilogy before. I did try to read it in middle school. The Fellowship of the Ring, that is. I got one page in and decided that was too much for me. So hopefully I can get deeper than that this time around. And then the last one I have on my list is a graphic novel. And you guessed it, it's Batman again. This is one of his greatest stories ever written. It is The Long Halloween. I've never read it before. I've wanted to. I know there is an animated movie, but I was wanting to get to the graphic novel first before I watched that. So I'm hoping to get to that this month, so that I can tune into the movie. And then I'll know what all the hype is about. So that is what I have planned for the month of October. I'm hoping I should be able to get to all these, if not this month, then early next month, depending on how productive I am in the reading arena. So yeah, that's all I have today. So thank you for watching, and